Welcome to part one of our three-part series on losing weight after 50. In this video, we'll identify metabolic issues that arise as we age and how they affect our ability to lose weight. And then I'll bring you parts 2 and 3, where we'll discuss fat loss strategies that work despite our age and practical food swaps that make the whole process easy, enjoyable, and effective. I hope you'll join me. I was born in 1967, so I am over 50, as are most of my friends and many of the men and women I work with in my coaching program. And what I've noticed is that as we age, it's easy to get focused on what I'm going to call metabolic disadvantages, or factors that make losing weight more difficult. For instance, it's common knowledge that as we age, our basal metabolic rate, or BMR, goes down. And since a lower BMR means that you burn fewer calories at rest, then this is a metabolic disadvantage of aging. Other factors that we could label as metabolic disadvantages include the accumulation of injuries that make it possibly more difficult to exercise at the same level that we once could, and also hormonal changes that come with menopause for women and lower testosterone for men, both of which are going to influence the way fat is stored on our bodies. And while these factors certainly have an impact on how efficiently our bodies burn fat, they don't prevent fat loss. And I would also add that they are not directly caused by our diet. So we don't really have much say over whether or not these things are going to come our way, right? So menopause happens to all women by about the age of 50, and there is no natural remedy that's going to change that reality. But there are two metabolic disadvantages that have quite a bit to do with our diet and they develop over time. And they are insulin resistance and poor gut health. So when it comes to developing a strategy to lose weight after 50, these two factors are important because they are the ones that we can influence through diet and lifestyle. So insulin resistance, that is something that I discuss often on my channel. It's a very descriptive term because it literally means that your cells become resistant to insulin. Insulin is a hormone. Hormones are substances in your body that carry messages, and those messages tell your cells what to do. Insulin's message is to tell your cells to take in glucose, or what is also commonly called blood sugar, which is the fuel that your cells can either burn immediately for energy or store away for later energy. A little bit of that stored energy gets put into your muscles, but the leftovers go into your biggest energy reserve, which is your fat cells. So we can say that when insulin is present, you are in fat storing mode. When insulin is not present, the tide changes and the stored energy can be released. So we can say that when insulin is low, you move into fat burning mode. And when we were young, our cells were very receptive to insulin, and this whole mechanism of storing fat and burning fat provided us with sustained energy and fairly easy weight control. But after years of eating a poor diet, especially if our diet was high in sugar and refined carbs, and we gum up this system. Basically, we fed too much fuel into the system, and our cells got tired of hearing insulin's message. So they started to resist it. They started to stop taking in glucose, and you develop what we call insulin resistance. And now we have a cascade of problems that lead to weight gain. First, your cells are not taking in glucose from the food you eat, so you crave more food. Your blood sugar level stays elevated, which is why insulin resistance is said to be a pre-diabetic state. And insulin levels also stay elevated as insulin tries to move the glucose out of your blood. And that chronically high insulin level keeps you in that fat storing mode. And in my opinion, insulin resistance as well as gut health, which we'll talk about in a moment, are of particular interest to those of us over the age of 50 because of how eating has changed during our lifetimes. In his book, Always Hungry, Dr. David Ludwig states that in 1960s, Americans ate more than 40% of calories as fat. Today, the fat intake approaches the government recommended limit of 30%, but rates of obesity have skyrocketed. There are many reasons why fat left our diets, but I think one of the most obvious was that it seemed logical not to eat as much fat. If you don't want to get fat, don't eat fat. That is a statement that seems like it is very sensible. But our bodies are very complex machines, so a lot of times very linear thinking like that doesn't produce the results that we are after. And the unforeseen issue of switching to a low-fat diet was that you couldn't just remove fat because it supplies a large portion of your calorie needs and, of course, a lot of flavor. So to solve those problems, we turned to two things: eating more refined and sugary carbohydrates that replaced the calories and flavor, and an increase in our use of vegetable oils, which we thought at the time were healthier fats. Those refined carbs not only hastened the onset of insulin resistance, but they also stripped the fiber from the carbs, and that is detrimental to gut health. The good bacteria of your gut are living organisms that need to eat. What they eat is undigested bits of food. So fiber is a major source of food for your good gut bacteria. And in your gut, there are also bad bacteria, and they thrive on sugar. Our increased use of vegetable oils also damaged the gut microbiome. As saturated fats fell out of favor, we replaced those solid fats with liquid vegetable oils. And interestingly enough, this is how trans fats got started. Switching to liquid vegetable oils created a problem for food makers because the liquid fats were not good for baking. So through chemistry in a lab, food manufacturers discovered that adding hydrogen to vegetable oils turned them from a liquid to a solid. And that is how hydrogenated vegetable oils, or trans fats like Crisco and margarine, found their way into our food supply. Today, vegetable oils, and in particular soybean oil, are found in most packaged foods, and they are used in fast food fryers. And we are just now learning how detrimental these polyunsaturated fats are. These seed oils are very high in refined inflammatory omega-6 fats that get into your digestive tract and promote the growth of bad bacteria. So how does the health of your gut microbiome affect your ability to lose weight? Well, it appears that there are many mechanisms. The good bacteria of your gut act as a final level of digestion for the foods that you eat. For instance, fiber that cannot be digested in your small intestine is digested in your gut bacteria and converted to short-chain fatty acids that have many weight loss benefits. On my second YouTube channel that I run with my husband, we did a video on short-chain fatty acids and weight loss, which I will link to. But among the benefits are better hunger control and increased fat burning. And there's likely more to learn about an unhealthy gut and how it promotes weight gain. For instance, this study looked at the gut microbiome of obese and lean twins and found that a decreased diversity of gut bacteria was associated with obesity. So it is no doubt that living in our world for the past 50 plus years has caused us to accumulate some metabolic disadvantages. But despite the challenges, the basic mechanism of fat loss does not change. When you learn to eat in a way that keeps insulin low and that feeds your beneficial gut microbiome, the weight does come off. In part 2 of our Losing Weight Over 50 series, I will share fat loss strategies that work and that you can easily incorporate into your life. But if you do not want to wait for that part 2 to come out, I invite you to watch my free video series that teaches my 0, 1, 2, 3 strategy. That simple strategy will get you back to eating whole foods and get sugar and refined carbs out of your diet. So I will leave some links below in the description area so you can go watch that. Please subscribe and click that bell beside the subscribe button so you are alerted when part 2 is published. Thanks so much for watching.